They came like whispers in the wind, fragments of color drifting through the last patches of wild earth. The butterflies, once millions strong, now numbered in mere hundreds. And as the world burned, flooded, and wilted, their dance was a final symphony, delicate, desperate, beautiful. To some, they were only insects. To others, a symbol of hope. But to Ava Maren and Kael Elan, the butterflies were everything. They were the reason they met. They were the reason they fought. And they would be the reason they would never forget what it meant to love deeply, even when the world was falling apart. Ava Maren lived on the edge of the Pacifica Refuge, one of the last government-protected biodiversity zones in the Western Hemisphere. She was a botanist with wild curls always tied back in a dusty scarf, her hands calloused from planting, pruning, and salvaging whatever green life the soil still permitted. The refuge was dying, and she was tired. But she never stopped. One humid morning in late May, as she recorded the wilting of the last milkweed plants, a crucial host for the dwindling monarch butterfly, her path crossed with Kael Elan, a climate data technician and drone operator with the Earth Renewal Corps. He stood beneath a dying cypress tree, watching a lone butterfly flit past him. She approached with suspicion. "You shouldn't be here," Ava said. "This land isn't open to civilians." Kael turned, his eyes stormy gray, the kind that mirrored the troubled skies overhead. "I'm not just anyone," he said, raising his ID. "Kael Elan. Here to map butterfly migration." "I hear you're the plant woman?" "Botanist," she corrected. He smiled. "Same difference." She rolled her eyes. "But that smile?" It lingered. Kael stayed. Days turned into weeks. His presence annoyed Ava at first. He flew noisy drones over her quiet mornings. He asked endless questions. He misidentified plants. He sang to his AI assistant. But he also stayed late to help repair irrigation lines. He carried heavy compost bags without being asked. He knelt beside her in the dirt and listened when she spoke of ecosystems, pollination cycles, and hope. And at night, they sat under flickering solar lamps, watching maps of butterfly routes glowing on Kael's holoscreen. The monarch's flight paths were erratic now, disoriented by heat waves and fires. "They're confused," he said softly. "They don't know where to go anymore." "Neither do we," she replied. He looked at her, not as a scientist, not as a statistic, but as something rare, something real. Their hands touched in the dark. A spark. Then stillness. The first fire hit in late June. Lightning strikes, unnatural and fueled by dry heat. The north section of the refuge burned fast. Too fast. Ava and Kael fought side by side to save what they could. The flames, orange and furious, devoured decades of growth. Trees Ava had named. Flowers she had rescued. She wept that night. Kael held her. Neither of them spoke. When the rain finally came 3 days later, it was too late. But that night something shifted. Not just the weather. They kissed for the first time, beneath blackened branches, surrounded by ash and rebirth. In the days that followed, Kael began to write Ava letters. On real paper, rare and precious in this age of digital decay. He left them in plant pots, slipped them between pages of her journals. They were part poetry, part data, lines like, "If butterflies are the last dancers, then you are the song they dance to. Each time I map their path, I think of your hands drawing constellations in the dirt." Ava responded with pressed petals, drawn sketches of the milkweed's life cycle, and simple notes. "You make the silence less heavy. Some days I fear the earth will stop breathing. But then I see you and I remember, it hasn't yet." They were in love. Terribly, deeply, fearfully so. In August, the government issued an emergency evacuation. The refuge was no longer safe. Extreme heat, resource scarcity, rising sea levels. Ava was ordered to abandon her life's work. She refused. Kael pleaded with her. "You'll die here, Ava?" "I'll die anywhere," she said, "but at least here I'll die for something I love." He stayed. Together they created a sanctuary. Solar shields. Water condensers. A pollination dome. It was a miracle built from scraps, data, and devotion. And for a while it worked. The butterflies began to return. Not many. But enough. Enough for one last dance. In September, something miraculous happened. A cold front collided with a heat wave. Wind patterns shifted. And suddenly the sky darkened, not with storm clouds but with butterflies. Thousands of them. They flew in a spiral over the sanctuary, a shimmering vortex of orange and black. Ava and Kael stood in the center, arms around each other, awestruck. "They came back," Ava whispered. Kael kissed her forehead. "They heard your heartbeat. That's what led them home." It was the most beautiful moment of their lives. And it was the last time they would ever see the butterflies. By December, Kael was sick. The air was too thin. The water too brackish. The planet too cruel. Ava nursed him, her hands steady even as her heart cracked. He smiled weakly one evening, watching the last butterfly clinging to a windowsill. "It's okay," he said. "Everything dies. Even the world." "Not love," she whispered. "Not this." He died that night in her arms as snow fell in the wrong season. She buried him beneath the milkweed grove. And when the last butterfly finally flew off, Ava followed it. Some say she still walks the sanctuary. Others say she became the wind. Decades later, a child discovers a box of letters and pressed petals buried beneath a twisted tree trunk. She reads them beneath the rusted remains of solar panels. The sky is gray, but her heart is warm. Ava and Kael's love outlived the world that tried to end it. And somewhere, in some distant reborn forest, a butterfly dances,